Okay, so if I were to just start whistling a certain tune right now, the Colonel Bogey March, you would almost certainly picture a jungle, a bunch of sweat-soaked prisoners, and a bridge.
A wooden bridge, right, exploding in this huge dramatic climax.
Exactly. It's one of those movie moments that's just, burned into our brains.
It is. It's completely iconic. But here's where things get messy right out of the gate. If you go to the actual site in Thailand today, and you're expecting to see that wooden bridge from the movie,
You're going to be confused.
You're going to be very confused. The real bridge is made of steel. And if that's not enough of a curveball, the river it crosses wasn't even originally called the Kwai.
It's such a classic case of Hollywood basically writing the history books. So today we are doing a deep dive into Kanchanaburi, Thailand. Now, most people know it as a World War II site defined by the infamous Death Railway. But looking at the stack of research we've got, and it's everything from travel guides, museum reviews, to this really dense academic thesis from the University of Ca' Foscari, Venice, this place is going through a massive identity shift.
It really is. It's arguably the perfect laboratory for the modern tourism industry. You're looking at a destination trying to pivot from a very dark, tragic past into a sustainable, almost high-tech future.
And that's really the mission for this deep dive, to understand how they're doing that. We're going to look at how Kanchanaburi is using ideas like soft power, ethical animal tourism, and even digital gamification to rebrand itself.
Exactly. It's about how you take a place famous for, frankly, a war crime and reinvent it using Tanis.
But before we get to that reinvention, we have to ground this in what actually happened, because I was looking at the notes on this whole River Kwai thing, and it's actually hilarious if it weren't so confusing.
It's a comedy of errors that just became fact. So the bridge, historically, crossed the Mae Klong River. That's the name.
The Mae Klong.
But during the war, the British POWs, they knew the river had a tributary nearby called the Kwai.
Kwai.
Right, but English speakers, they couldn't quite get the tone. In Thai, Kwai means tributary. But how the POWs were saying it, it sounded like Kwai. And in Thai, Kwai means water buffalo.
So you're telling me Alec Guinness was building the bridge on the river water buffalo?
Linguistically, yes. That's what was happening. But then the novel comes out, the movie's a smash hit in '57, sweeps the Oscars, and suddenly tourists are flooding into Thailand looking for the bridge on the River Kwai.
And they can't find it on the map.
Exactly. They get to the Mae Klong River and they're like, where is it?
Yeah.
This is the wrong name.
And this is where the Thai government made just a fascinating move. They didn't correct the tours.
They corrected the map. They just bowed to the power of Hollywood. In 1960, they officially renamed that part of the river the Kwai Yai. Life literally imitated art. It just shows you how powerful a movie can be in shaping a place.
That is wild. But okay, let's talk about the bridge itself. The movie gives us this huge, towering wooden structure.
Rickety, yeah. Looks like it's held together by bamboo and sheer will.
But the sources, they say the real bridge is very different.
Completely different. The real bridge, which is still there, is steel. It has these 11 curved truss spans. It's a serious piece of industrial infrastructure. And get this, it wasn't even made in Thailand.
No way.
The Japanese imported it from Java in Indonesia during the war.
I can't even imagine the logistics of that in the middle of a world war. Moving a steel bridge from Indonesia to Thailand.
It tells you everything about the desperation of the Japanese supply line. It's actually the only steel bridge they built in Thailand during the entire war. And while the movie is a great adventure story, the reality of building it is, it's just horrifying. This was the Death Railway.
Intended to link Thailand and Myanmar to supply the Japanese army for the Burma campaign.
Exactly.
The numbers in the source material are they're staggering. We're talking something like 60,000 Allied POWs.
Brits, Aussies, Dutch, Americans, yeah.
And then a huge number of Asian civilian laborers.
The Romusha.
Right, the Romusha. The estimates are all over the place, but we see numbers from 180,000 up to 250,000 civilians.
And the death toll.
Yeah.
It shows the brutality. About 12,000 POWs died, which is horrific. But the number of civilian laborers who died is estimated at 90,000. 90,000. That's an entire city of people.
They died from malnutrition, cholera, malaria, just brutal treatment.
Yeah.
It really puts the whole cinematic nature of the site into a very, very stark perspective. And yet today, that bridge is a functioning monument. You can walk on it, you can take a train across it.
And it tells its own story through its scars. If you look closely at the bridge today, you'll see two of the spans are different. They're square, not curved like the others.
Oh, why is that?
Those are the replacements. The originals were destroyed by Allied bombers in 1945. So the bridge itself is a physical timeline. You can see the Japanese construction, the Allied bombing, and the post-war repair, all just sitting there in the steel.
And speaking of the railway, it's not just the bridge. The train line itself is still running. I was reading about the Tam Krasai Viaduct, and honestly, just the pictures give me vertigo.
That's probably the most visually arresting part of the entire line. It's this section where the tracks just cling to the side of a limestone cliff. They're held up by these wooden trestles with a sheer drop straight down to the river.
It looks terrifying to ride on, let alone build.
It gives you such a tangible sense of the danger. You have to imagine these starving prisoners building that by hand, balancing on those beams in the tropical heat.
And this is where we get into that idea of dark tourism, right?
Prime example. Travel to places associated with death and tragedy. And the reviews in our stack show a real split in how this history gets presented. On one hand, you have the Jaith War Museum.
Right, Jaith being the acronym for Japan, England, America, Australia, Thailand, Holland.
Exactly. That museum is described as gritty. It replicates the bamboo huts the POWs lived in. It's not air-conditioned, it's rough. And some visitors feel that lack of polish makes it more authentic. You can feel the heat, you can smell the river.
Compared to the Death Railway Museum, which sounds like the complete opposite.
That one is much more of a research center. It's air-conditioned, interactive, very data-driven. They have artifacts they found with metal detectors, lighters, badges, personal items. It focuses on individual stories, accurate timelines. It's a much more curated educational experience.
But then you get to the point of dissonance. The River Kwai Bridge Week.
Yes. Late November, early December.
The sources describe a light and sound show that recreates the bombing. And I have to ask, is that weird?
It's the friction point of modern tourism, isn't it? You have this festival with food stalls and cultural shows, and then a multimedia spectacle with pyrotechnics and explosions recreating a tragedy where thousands of people suffered and died.
It feels like it's turning the war back into an action movie.
It raises a huge ethical question. Is it commemoration or is it entertainment? Are you honoring the dead or are you selling tickets? The sources suggest it walks a very, very fine line. But this tension between the dark history and the need for modern tourists, that's the perfect segue into the academic side of our deep dive.
Right. The thesis from the University of Cape Foscari. This is where we move away from the war and into how Thailand is trying to rebrand itself. Because you can't build a sustainable economy just on a cemetery.
No, you can't. And this is where soft power comes in.
We hear that term a lot in geopolitics. Usually it's, America exporting Hollywood or Korea exporting K-pop. How's Thailand using it?
Well, the thesis points to a specific government strategy called the 5 Fs. It's meant to boost high-value tourism.
The 5 Fs.
Food, film, fashion, festival, and fight, as in Muay Thai boxing.
It's catchy. It's a checklist for culture.
It is. And it relies on this constructed idea of Thainess. The thesis argues that Thainess isn't just, what Thai people do. It's an ideological marketing tool to make visitors feel like they're experiencing something authentic, a curated version of the culture designed for you to consume.
The research mentioned this ad campaign, Meaningful Relationship, and watching the description, it's not what you think it is.
No, it's a really clever twist. The ad has a Brazilian woman, a French guy, a Korean guy, and they're all talking about falling in love in Thailand.